Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Jurors reached their decision in a negligent homicide case in Absaroka that has dragged on for nearly 7 years.
Michael Holtz on trial for the death of 27-year-old Forrest Dana, who was run over and killed in an alleyway during the annual Absaroka Days festival back in 2013.
Well, that trial was moved to Glendive because the defense successfully argued that Holtz couldn't get a fair trial in Stillwater County.
After 4 days of hearing evidence, it took jurors about 5 hours to find Holtz not guilty today. The Glendive Ranger Review tells Q2 that Holtz was cleared on all 3 charges of negligent homicide, tampering with evidence, and failure to remain at the scene of an accident involving another person.
An autopsy showed that Dana had been hit by a moving vehicle, but that alcohol ingestion also contributed to his death. Witnesses testified that Holtz had also been drinking, but the defense argued that no reasonable person would have noticed Dana passed out in the alley, and also attempted to poke holes in the state's timeline that put Holtz at the scene of the crime.
Now, charges were originally filed against Holtz in 2014, then dismissed in 2016, and then filed again in 2018.
The judge admonished the crowd not to react when the verdict was returned, but it was an emotional scene, we're told. Holtz made no comments following the not guilty verdict.
Well, tomorrow morning, Great Falls community members will join in the search for 34-year-old Amy Harding, a Great Falls nurse who's been missing since Sunday night.
Harding, also known as Amy Perman, reportedly walked away from her home around 8:30 Sunday, heading towards the Missouri River. Cascade County Sheriff Jesse Slaughter says deputies responded to that home on Flood Road that night after a 911 call for a disturbance.
Now, the sheriff says Amy got into an argument with her boyfriend, John Van Gilder, and allegedly assaulted him before leaving the house.
The sheriff is now asking the public to help in that search for Harding, which will begin again early tomorrow morning.
Well, President Trump's defense team has finished his opening statements, but his impeachment trial might not be headed for the swift acquittal the White House hoped for. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell conceded tonight he doesn't yet have the votes to block more witnesses. Skylar Henry reports from Capitol Hill.
Lawyers for President Trump wrapped up their opening arguments at his impeachment trial in less than half the time allotted them.
Danger, danger, danger. These articles must be rejected.
The president's defense tried to discredit claims in a manuscript for John Bolton's upcoming book, in which the former national security advisor says the president did condition aid to Ukraine on investigations into the Bidens.
It is not a game of leaks and unsourced manuscripts.
The Senate is now bracing for a debate on witnesses. Late Tuesday, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he doesn't have the votes to block them.
We just came from a conference in which there was vigorous discussion and debate on the question of whether additional witnesses are needed.
Democrats have shot down any other offer besides sworn testimony.
We're not bargaining with them. We want 4 witnesses and 4 sets of documents. Then the truth will come out.
Senators begin the 2-day question and answer period Wednesday before taking any vote on additional witnesses. Senators will use these cards to write their questions for House managers or the defense, sign their names, and submit them to Chief Justice John Roberts.
We have these massive crowds.
President Trump took aim at the trial and Democrats from a campaign rally in New Jersey.
They can't win an election, so they're trying to steal an election. It's not happening, folks. It's not happening.
The president predicted he'd win an even bigger victory come November. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Well, a powerful earthquake that struck about 80 miles from Jamaica shook people in the Caribbean and as far away as Miami, Florida. That 7.7 magnitude quake triggered a small tsunami that was recorded in the Cayman Islands. There were several aftershocks, including one that the U.S. Geological Survey said had a magnitude of 6.1. The quakes come 3 weeks after a magnitude 6.4 quake struck Puerto Rico. A tsunami threat alert was lifted this afternoon, a few hours after the quake. People in Miami, some 440 miles from the epicenter, felt the shaking. There are no initial reports of damage or casualties.
And now turning to Q2 Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. Bob, we have an idea of how the rest of January is going to look, but how about February?
You know, it's hard to believe that the end of January is the end of this week on Friday.
Flew by.
So we thought we'd look ahead, and here's what we found. This is what the Weather Service put out for your February forecast. You'll notice across northeastern Montana, it's going to be a little bit cooler than normal. The hotter than normal stuff, that's down by a Great Basin area by Nevada and California, and all the way down across much of the Gulf Coast states. Now, what about precipitation? Well, look at this. Precipitation is going to be a little wetter than normal across Montana and Wyoming, and especially wetter across east of the Divide. But not only that, do you remember last February? This is the snow amount we had. Look at this, 94 inches over between February 3rd and March 6th at Mystic Lake. We had 66 inches over at Melville. Rappeljay had 49 inches. Remember, Joliet 31 inches, and Billings had 31 inches of snow just in the month of February. So I guess that is a little wetter than average. We'll see if we do that again this year. We'll have the rest of your forecast in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Now, this might surprise you. Yellowstone County Commissioners heard about a plan today to drain Lake Elmo within the next 2 years. That after Asian clams were recently found in the reservoir. County Commissioner Dennis Pittman says Fish, Wildlife and Parks informed commissioners today that the clams were isolated to the lake and that Lake Elmo will need to be drained to kill the invasive species and keep them from spreading. The plan is to empty the water from the 64-acre lake either next winter or the following winter. Along with dredging, the lake also will need cleaning up, and there's also a plan to provide more fishing areas once it's restocked with fish. Now, Pittman says as far as he knows, Lake Elmo has never been drained since it was first filled in 1904.
America's favorite pastime could become history in Billings, and many other cities have a plan by Major League Baseball to eliminate 42 minor league clubs becomes a reality. Members of Congress, including Montana's lone representative, are trying to step up to the plate to save the game. Congressman Greg Gianforte joined a bipartisan group of 65 lawmakers, introducing a resolution urging Major League Baseball to maintain the current minor league structure rather than proceed with that consolidation plan. Gianforte said in a statement that Montana's minor league baseball teams contribute to our sense of community, support local businesses, and create jobs, as well as being a source of community pride. Major League Baseball is yet to make a decision on what to do about that proposal and has made it clear that any changes will not be made until after this coming season or maybe longer.
And still to come on your 10 o'clock news, we go behind the scenes as high school students learn the ways of the news business.
Plus, former teammates remember NBA star Kobe Bryant in sports. Also, a solid Tuesday showdown between West and Central. Scott will show us if the Bears can even the series.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.